It is a great privilege, graduates, to address you on your day, a day marking one of the most important accomplishments of your life to date. This is a magical place, a place where the dynamics of positive and negative seem to exist in extremes. I remember walking across this yard on what seemed to be a random day, my head down, lost in my own world of issues, like many of you do daily. I'm almost at the center of the yard. I raised my head and Muhammad Ali was walking towards me. Time seemed to slow down as his eyes locked on mine and opened wide. He's raised his fist into a quintessential guard. I was game to play along with him, to act as if I was a worthy opponent. What an honor to be challenged by the GOAT, the greatest of all time, for a brief moment. His face was as serious as if I were Frazier in the Thriller in Manila. His movements or flashes of a past greater than I can imagine. His security let the joke play along for a second before they ushered him away, and I walked away floating like a butterfly. I walked away amused at him, amused at myself, amused at life for this moment that almost no one would ever believe. I walked away light, ready to take on the world. That is the magic of this place. Almost anything can happen here. Ain't you? Howard University.
You see right here, the Black Panther, what's happening with you? Check me out. Oh, what is that? Oh, we guess. Oh, world premiere. Man, listen. The movie, and before I even get started, no spoilers in this. Don't spoil the movie for anybody. If you've seen it early, if you see it the day it comes out, don't spoil it the day before. Don't spoil it for anyone. Let everyone enjoy this movie because it's an experience, it's a moment, and it's just unfair to spoil it. So, boom, I went down to Hollywood this past Monday, the 28th. Was it Monday? Yeah. The 29th, rather, to go see the premiere. Man, amazing. I mean, there's so many people there. Snoop, Usher, man, Janelle Monáe. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Anyways, let's focus on the movie. Focus. The movie was spectacular. I'm talking about from the sounds. I'm talking about from the colors. I'm talking about from the clothing. I'm talking about from the language. I'm talking about from the scenery, the imagery, and the mentality of the people in Wakanda. I want to go to. I wish I was from Wakanda. That's how amazing Wakanda is. All the actresses and actors were great in the movie. T'Challa's sister. The women defense crew, military, Secret Service. That man, listen, you don't want to mess with them. They was on point. Killmonger was dope. The villain in the movie. Man, I don't want to give. I can't. You know what I mean? I don't want to give too much away. I'm letting you know. For anyone that has doubts about seeing this movie, man, kick them doubts to the side because this movie will change the world. I guarantee you on that. Guarantee it. This movie is not just a superhero movie. It's not just some good entertainment. Oh no. It has some timely and very crucial and necessary messages that we all have to hear. And I'm talking about so-called black people and so-called white people and everybody in between. Man, it's amazing. You know what I mean? And if you're wondering, you're saying, how did this dude Rami, how did he get a pass to go see it early? Well, when you know some people, you know some people. It's just how it is, you know what I mean? Listen, man, you know what I mean? You think you know, but you have no idea. There's some things in motion. There's some things going on that you may not realize. You know what I mean? And in due time, all will be known. I got, my people's had something to do with the film. So that's how I was able to go see it early. Man, Black Panther. Go see it. February 16th. This is really like a promotional video, really. I mean, I don't have to because it's already popping. It's finna, break all the records and all of that. But more so, I just want to put it on record now before the movie comes out how much this movie is going to change the world. I mean, oh. We got the tone, we got everything right, baby. Hit the lights, baby. Oh, yeah. In the all black suit with the all black socks. Shout out to my brother for this all black watch. We headed to the spot, had the puff on the lap. I pull a big smile and I am so damn proud. World premiere shit, yeah, Wakanda what I'm talking. VIP status, extra player when I'm walking. What's happening? You see the cameras flashing, feeling debonair. My nigga really on this the movie of the year. I seen it before I ever saw it. Believe in your people, be there when they need you, and not for the evils, meaning not for the dope. You gotta do it for love. It's cloud chasing for hope. Let's go. Peace. I'm Rami Salam. That was a little sneak peek. I'm glad that you're here to join us in the honoring of Chadwick Boseman and a little bit of more science. Chadwick Boseman, very wise, geniusly talented, amazingly humble, kind spirit. At least everything I've seen from the interviews, everything you hear from people. God sent, you know what I mean? Messenger of God. Condolences and prayers and positive energy to his family, to his loved ones, to his friends. But I don't want to get entrenched in the sadness. I want to do my best to honor. I opened up with a piece, and we're going to close out with a piece from Chadwick. But I wanted to read a couple things from the Quran that was brought to us by Noble Drew Ali that I think are right in line with this time and with the message and the messages that Chadwick was bringing. So first I wanted to read from chapter 39, Holy Instructions from the Prophet, Pinnacle of Wisdom, starting from line 12. Complain not with the fool of the shortness of thy time. Remember that with thy days thy cares are shortened. Take from the period of thy life the useless part of it, and what remaineth. Take off the time of thy infancy, thy second infancy of age, thy sleep, thy thoughtless hours, thy days of sickness, and even at the fullness of years, how few seasons hast thou truly numbered? He who give thee life as a blessing, shorten it to make it more so. I had that one underlined. Let me read that again. He who gave thee life as a blessing, shorten life to make it more so, more of a blessing. To what end would longer life have served thee? Wisheth thou to have had an opportunity of more vices? As to the good, will not he who limited thy span be satisfied with the fruits of it? To what end, O child of sorrow, wouldst thou live longer? To breathe, to eat, to see the world? All this thou hast done often already. The frequent repetition, is it not tiresome? Or is it not superfluous? Wouldst thou improve thy wisdom and thy virtue? I'll stop right there. Basically, appreciate the time that we have here. You know what I mean? Because our time is limited. Everyone. We have a limited amount of time on this earth, and we got to do our best to maximize and do the best we can to be the greatest that we can be every day. And I think Chadwick Boseman's work is a testament to that. You know, as we are now understanding, he was battling with cancer for 4 years, didn't say a word, wasn't complaining, just kept working, doing the best to maximize and appreciate each day. I think that is really important, man. I lost my father very abruptly, and that was a very harsh lesson for me to appreciate every day, because tomorrow is not promised, and things can change just like that. And I want to read one more from the next one, from the next chapter. And this chapter is The Instability of Man, Holy Instructions of the Prophet, chapter 40. And this is line 11. Do well while thou liveth, but regard not what is said of it. No. Do well whilst thou livest. Do well while thou livest. Yeah, man, these old English words. Do well while thou livest, but regard not what is said of it. Content thyself with deserving praise, and thy posterity shall rejoice in hearing it. I really love that line. Content thyself with deserving praise, and thy posterity shall rejoice in hearing it. You don't have to get caught up in getting the praise right now. Just do the work that will regard the praise, that is worthy of the praise, that's worthy of, man, that person is doing a great job. Just do the work that's worthy of that. But don't worry about it right now. You'll get it in due time. As we see with the legendary Chadwick Boseman. You know what I mean? He put in the work. Just kept working, kept grinding, kept doing the work for us to really highlight and show the greatness that is within us. And that's something else I wanted to highlight. A very wise person, helped me to see this. He was saying that the greatness that we see this within El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, Malcolm X, or Martin Luther King, or Marcus Garvey, or Noble Drew Ali, the greatness that we see this within them is within us also. And once we recognize that and truly know that, that's when we can walk forward with that light. And I want to add this last one. This book is really raggedy now, but this is The Mysteries of the Silent Brotherhood of the East book. I just lost the cover, but I wanted to read this one also, just for some motivation, for anyone out there that's feeling grief or feeling heavy about the loss of Chadwick Boseman, or any person that's close and near and dear to you. This is chapter 20, and it's called The Adept Chamber of the Dead, The Mysteries of Egypt. The senior course of study now was opened up, and Yehoshua entered and became a pupil of the Hierophant. He learned the secrets of the mystic lore of Egypt land, the mysteries of life and death, and of the world beyond the circle of the sun. And when he had finished all the studies of the senior course, he went into the chamber of the dead that he might learn the ancient methods of preserving from decay the bodies of the dead. And here he wrought. And carriers brought the body of a widow's son to be embalmed. The weeping mother followed close. Her grief was great. And Yahshua said, "Good woman, dry your tears. You follow but an empty house. Your son is in it not. You weep because your son is dead. Death is not a cruel word. Your son can never die."
He had a task assigned to do in a garb of flesh. He came, he did his work, and then he laid the flesh aside. He did not need it more. Beyond the human sight, he has another work to do, and he will do it well and then pass to other tasks. And by, he will attain the crown, the crown of perfect life. And what your son has done, and what he yet must do, we all must do. I'm going to keep reading. Now, if you harbor grief and give your sorrows vent, they will grow greater every day. They will absorb your very life until at last you will be nothing but grief, wet down with bitter tears. Instead of helping him, you grieve your son by your deep grief. He seeks your solace now as he has ever done, is glad when you are glad, is saddened when you grieve. Go bury deep your woes and smile at grief, and lose yourself in helping others dry their tears. With duty done comes happiness and joy, and gladness cheers the hearts of those who have passed on. The weeping woman turned and went her way to find happiness in helpfulness, to bury deep her sorrows in a ministry of joy. I'm going to keep reading. This one's too powerful. Let me keep reading. Then other carriers came and brought the body of a mother to the chamber of the dead. And just one mourner followed, she, a girl of tender years. And as the cortege neared the door, the child observed a wounded bird in sore distress. A cruel hunter's dart had pierced its breast. And she left following the dead and went to help the living bird. With tenderness and love, she folded to her breast the wounded bird, then hurried to her place. And Yehoshua said to her, "Why did you leave your dead to save a wounded bird?" The maiden said, "This lifeless body needs no help from me. My mother taught me this." My mother taught that grief and selfish love and hopes and fears are but reflexes from the lower self, that what we sense is but small waves upon the rolling billows of a life. These all will pass away. They are unreal. Tears flow from the hearts of flesh, but the spirit never weeps, and I am longing of the day when I can walk in the light where tears are wiped away. My mother taught that all emotions are sprays that rise from human love and hope and fears, that perfect bliss cannot be ours till we have conquered these. And in the presence of that child did Yehoshua bow his head in reverence. He said, "For days and months and years I have sought to learn this highest truth that man can learn on earth. And here a child, fresh brought to earth, has told it all in one short breath." No wonder David said, "O Allah, our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings hast thou ordained strength." And then he laid his hand upon the maiden's head and said, "I am sure the blessings of my Father Allah will rest upon you, child, forever." Much love to you. Praise Allah. Peace and love.
I didn't come here to take sides. My interest is what's best for the school. A Howard University education is not just about what happens in the classroom, students. In some ways, what you were able to do exemplifies some of the skills you learned in the classroom. It takes the education out of the realm of theory and into utility and practice. Obviously, your organization skills were unprecedented. I'm told that you organized shifts so that you could at least continue some of your classes. we missed all our classes when we were in the A building. And I'm told that through donations, there was always an ample helping of food. I probably ate a slice of pizza during the entirety of our 3-day protest. So your organization and planning was impeccable. You received the majority of your demands, making a significant impact on those who came after you. As is often the case, those that follow most often enjoy the results of the progress you gain. You love the university enough to struggle with it. Now I have to ask you that you have to continue to do that. Even now that you received your demands, even if you're walking today, you have to continue to do that. Everything that you fought for was not for yourself. It was for those that come after. You could have been disgruntled and transferred, but you fought to be participants in making this institution the best that it can be. But I must also applaud President Wayne Frederick and the administration for listening to the students. Your freedom of speech was exercised in a way where you can contribute to this place. It also shows that you can contribute to the democracy. The administration and the campus police at the time when I was protesting was not nearly as open-minded as this current one. I know this was a difficult time, but because of both of you, I believe Howard is a few steps closer to the actualization of its potential, the potential that many of us have dreamed for it. Students, your protests are also promising because many of you will leave Howard and enter systems and institutions that have a history of discrimination and marginalization. The fact that you have struggled with this university that you love is a sign that you can use your education to improve the world that you are entering. I was on a roll when I entered the system of entertainment, theater, television, and film. In my first New York audition for a professional play, I landed the lead role. From that play, I got my first agent. From that agent, I got an on-screen audition. It was a soap opera. It wasn't Third Watch. It was a soap opera on a major network. I scored that role too. I felt like Mike Tyson when he first came on the scene, knocking out opponents in the first round. With this soap opera gig, I was already promised to make six figures, more money than I had ever seen. I was feeling myself. But once I got the first script, and with soap operas, you very often get the script the night before and you shoot the whole episode in one day with little to no time to prepare. Once I saw the role I was playing, I found myself conflicted. The role wasn't necessarily stereotypical. A young man in his formative years with a violent streak pulled into the allure of gang involvement. That's somebody's real story. Never judge the characters you play. That's what we were always taught. That's the first rule of acting. And any role play, honestly, can be empowering. But I was conflicted because this role seemed to be wrapped up in assumptions about us as black folk. The writing failed to search for specificity. Plus, there was barely a glimpse of positivity or talent in the character, barely a glimpse of hope. I would have to make something out of nothing. I was conflicted. Howard had instilled in me a certain amount of pride, and for my taste, this role didn't live up to those standards. It was just my luck that after filming the first 2 episodes, execs of the show called me into their offices and told me how happy they were with my performance. They wanted me to be around for a long time. They said, if there was anything that I needed, just let them know. That was my opening. I decided to ask them some simple questions about the background of my character, questions that I felt were pertinent to the plot. Question number 1, where's my father? The exec answered, well, he left when you were younger. Of course. Okay. Okay. Question number 2. If in this script, it alluded to my mother not being equipped to operate as a good parent. So why exactly would my little brother and I have to go into foster care? Matter of factly, he answered, well, of course, she's on heroin. That could be real, I guess. But I didn't want to assume that's what it was. If we're around here assuming that the black characters in the show are criminals on drugs and deadbeat parents, then that would probably be stereotypical, wouldn't it? That word stereotypical lingered. One of the execs pulled out my resume and began studying it. The other exec wore a smile, trying to live up to what they had promised me only a few moments before. If there's anything you need, just let us know. She said, as you have seen, things move really fast around here. But we are more than happy to connect you with the writers if you have suggestions. Yeah, I said, that would be great. I said, because I'm just trying to do my homework on this. I didn't know if you guys had decided on all the facts, but maybe there's some things we could come up with, some talent or gift that we could build. Maybe he's really good at math or something. He has to be active. I'm doing my best not to play this character like a victim. So you went to Howard University, huh? The exec holding my resume interrupted, peeking over the pages. Yes, I said proudly. He slid my resume back in his desk and said, thank you for your concerns. We'll be watching you. I left the office. I shot the episode I had come in to shoot on that day. Probably the best one I did out of the 3 because I got what was bothering me off my chest. I was let go from that job on the next day. A phone call from my agent. They decided to go another way. The questions that I asked set the producers on guard and perhaps paved the way for a less stereotypical portrayal for the black actor that stepped into the role after me. As the scripture says, I planted the seed and Apollos watered it. But God kept growing. God kept it growing. Yet and still, when you invest in a seed, watching it grow without you, that is a bitter pill to swallow. A bitter pill. Anybody that's ever been fired knows what I'm talking about. Even if you really don't want the job, when they let you go, it's like any breakup. You act like you don't care. I didn't need that damn job anyway. I didn't need them. But when you have those moments alone, you start to wonder if there was a better way to handle it. And if you could have handled it better, maybe you could help your family. And then before you know it, you're broke. And you find yourself scraping together change just so you can ride the subway so that you can get the next job. And maybe if you could book something else, that would eclipse the feeling of doubt that's building. But it seems like you can't pay them to hire you now. My agents at the time told me it might be a while before I got a job acting on screen again. Well, that was fine because I never wanted to act in the first place. And I definitely didn't want to be caught dead going after a fake Hollywood pipe dream. I'm more of a writer-director anyway, so forget their stories. I can tell my own stories. But am I actually blackballed? We're hesitant about sending you out to some people right now because there is a stigma that you're difficult. As conflicted as I was before I lost the job, as adamant as I was about the need to speak truth to power, I found myself even more conflicted afterwards. I stand here today knowing that my Howard University education prepared me to play Jackie Robinson, James Brown, Thurgood Marshall, and T'Challa. But what do you do when the principles and standards that were instilled in you here at Howard close the doors in front of you? Sometimes you need to get knocked down before you can really figure out what your fight is and how you need to fight it. At some point, my mind reverted back to my experiences here, to the professors that challenged me and struggled against me. Professor Robert Williams, Doc Singleton, George Epstein, to name a few, the ones that would fail you out of the goodness of their hearts. And this may be hard to grasp for some of you right now, but I even considered President Swagger and how negotiating with him was practice for a world that was considerably more cruel and unforgiving than any debate here, one that had no interest in my ideals and beliefs. How would I maneuver through all of this? Finally, I thought of Ali in the middle of the yard, in his elder years, drawing from his victories and his losses. At that moment, I realized something new about the greatness of Ali and how he carried his crown. I realized that he was transferring something to me on that day. He was transferring the spirit of the fighter in me. He was transferring the spirit of the fighter to me. He was transferring the spirit of the fighter to me. Sometimes you need to feel the pain and sting of defeat to activate the real passion and purpose that God predestined inside of you. God says in Jeremiah, I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Graduating class, hear me well on this day. When you have reached the hilltop and you are deciding on next jobs, next steps, careers, further education, you would rather find purpose than a job or a career. Purpose crosses disciplines. Purpose is an essential element of you. It is the reason you are on the planet at this particular time in history. Your very existence is wrapped up in the things you are here to fulfill. Whatever you choose for a career path, remember the struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose. When I dare to challenge the system that would relegate us to victims and stereotypes with no clear historical backgrounds, no hopes or talents, when I questioned that method of portrayal, a different path opened up for me. The path to my destiny. When God has something for you, it doesn't matter who stands against it. God will move someone that's holding you back away from a door and put someone there who will open it for you. If it's meant for you, I don't know what your future is, but if you're willing to take the harder way, the more complicated one, the one with more failures at first than successes, the one that has ultimately proven to have more meaning, more victory, more glory, then you will not regret it. Now, this is your time.